Hi all, welcome to my YouTube channel Canada Tried and Tested. This is your host Gopi. I along with my wife moved to Canada in January 2019 through Express Entry Federal Skilled Worker Program. This is one of the fastest as well as economical immigration processes, and good thing is that it is online, straightforward and transparent since you're directly dealing with the Canadian government throughout. This entire process cost for two of us less than 2 lakh Indian rupees, which is approximately 3800 Canadian dollars. Since this video is little lengthy, you will get to see this in two parts. Part 1 of the video will cover mostly on how we gathered right information first time first and did our benchmarking, and this entire exercise cost us nothing in terms of monetary value. And then part 2 of this video will cover how we made this process a do-it-yourself project and we're in full control. We'll share details on money spent thereafter at each stage of process with breakdown, tips and insight which will give you confidence that even you can do this process in the fastest possible way. I'm sure by end of this two-part video, you will have a complete overview on process involved, get to know the free tools available online, and have confidence that you can do this process on own. As I said before, this video is a little lengthy, but I promise you it is worth the watch. Well, I am a project management professional with 15 plus years of experience, and my wife is a finance management professional with 10 plus years of experience. It was in November 2017 that we first got interested about this Express Entry Federal Skilled Worker Program for permanent residency status. We first visited Canada Government Immigration and Citizenship website cic.gc.ca. This website has all the information related to study, travel and immigration. Here we understood that there is an express entry system used by Canadian government to manage application for Canadian permanent residency through certain economic immigration program. For federal skilled worker program, one has to have experience in one of the national occupation classification job groups, that is managerial job skill type O, professional jobs skill level A, technical jobs and skill trade skill level B. We first checked what national occupation classification our experience is aligned to. So one can find details based on job title, code and skill type. Since my wife was a finance manager, we looked at the closest possible national occupation classification. We read through the statement, the titles associated with these statements, what are included in this, what are the main duties of the title associated, and what are the employment requirement in terms of designation, in terms of certifications, experience, and additional information, what are the exclusions. Similarly, read the other closest NOC also. I, being project manager, looked at the closest possible national occupation classification which was aligned to my experience. I encourage you to look into the requirement in detail and choose what is closest to your occupation. We also understood that there is a comprehensive ranking system popularly known as CRS, based on which government invites the applicant in federal skilled worker program. The CRS cutoff score is published every 2 weeks by Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, and anyone who has submitted self-declared information and has scored equal or above the published cutoff score gets invitation to apply, which in short form is ITA. ITA is a auto-generated correspondence issued to Express Entry candidate. With this information in hand, we visited Express Entry result previous rounds of invitations to look at the previous trend between July to November 2017. Here is the summary of how the July to November 2017 trend looked like. Looking at the score, we understood that we need to have a score above 440 plus even to think of getting the ITA at that time, and this became our benchmark. If you see the latest rounds of invitation, which was on September 18, 2019, this is the number of invitation issued, date and time of round, CRS score of lowest rank candidate 462, and tie breaking rule, which means anyone who has entered into express entry pool before August 29, 2019 by the said time and has a score equal or above 462 will get invitation to apply. Also looking at the recent past, one can see that the score is upward of 460 plus, which means the bar is only getting raised. To seek more information, we went into comprehensive ranking system criteria in express entry. Here we glanced through on how the point per factor for express entry candidate work on basis of factors like core human capital factor for spouse and common law, the skill transferability factor, additional points, point breakdown section by section based on age, the scores for language proficiency. After this, we visited CRS Score Calculator tool. Here, once we entered all our information, we got an instant CRS score. While filling this information, for some of the sections, we did not have an immediate answer. So we used a hypothetical situation to know how our score will look like. In fact, this tool gave us the insight on the areas we need to focus and work in future. Let me demonstrate how we went about doing this and explain you the hypothetical situation we used. In our case, my wife was the primary applicant and I was the secondary applicant. How we decided who will be primary and who will be secondary was also based on what if scenario and the possible score outcome, which I will share little later. For now, let me fill the details. Here in this marital status section, we chose married. You must choose whatever your status from the drop down is. Is your spouse or common law partner a citizen or permanent resident of Canada? In our case, it was no. Will your spouse or common law partner come with you to Canada? I was accompanying my wife, so the answer is yes. How old are you? 34. What is your level of education? My wife had a master's degree. However, if you read through, the highest level of education either has to be a earned Canadian degree, diploma or certificate, or the education credential assessment has to be done by an approved agency if the study is outside Canada. So since her education was outside Canada, at this point we were not sure what her master's degree will be equivalent to in Canada. This query brought us to this page where we understood that these are the approved agency by Canadian government. We later chose World Education Service because they had a free tool for the assessment which allowed us to preview our degree and get a result instantly even before getting the educational credential assessment done. I will talk about education credential assessment a little later in this video. So based on West's instant report, we were confident that her master degree is equivalent to Canadian master's degree. Have you earned a Canadian degree, diploma or certificate? In our case, it was no. Official languages. Canada uses English and French as official language. So one needs to have a test result either in English or French. In our case, at this point, we had not appeared for exam. However, we chose yes. So here in the drop down, you can see that CELPIP and IELTS is an English proficiency test. TEF and TCF is French proficiency test. In 2017, we had only option for English proficiency in IELTS. So we chose IELTS, used a hypothetical situation that my wife scores the highest score in all speaking, listening, reading, and writing category. Do you have other language results? We chose not applicable. For work experience, if you remember, I talked about National Occupation Classification list where we saw what is aligned to our experience. Here in last 10 years, how many years of skilled work experience in Canada do you have? In our case, the answer is none. In last 10 years, how many total years of foreign skilled work experience do you have? In my wife's case, she had 3 years or more for the national occupation classification, which was aligned to her skill set. Do you have a certificate of qualification from Canadian province, territory, or federal body? In our case, it was no. Do you have a valid job offer supported by labor market impact assessment? In our case, we did not have any job offer. Do you have a nomination certificate from province or territory? No. Do you have a spouse or common law partner? If they will come with you to Canada, have at least one brother or sister living in Canada who is a citizen or permanent resident? In our case, we did not have anyone, so answer is no. What is the highest level of education for which your spouse or common law partner has earned a Canadian degree, diploma or certificate, or has an education credential assessment done? Here, even though I had a postgraduate certification based on the West tool result, I wanted to be conservative, hence I chose bachelor's degree. In the last 10 years, how many years of skilled work experience in Canada does your spouse common law partner have? I had none. Did your spouse or common law partner take, as I said earlier, at this point we both had not taken our language test, but we wanted to see how score outcome is. So chose the highest band in IELTS for speaking, listening, reading and writing. So once all these details were filled and we calculated our score, we got an instant result. The grand total came to 457, which was way above the cutoff score between July to November 2017. We also used this tool to build few other scenarios and saw how score changes with change in IELTS score and ECA results. Say if my wife gets a band lower in all section of her English proficiency test, and I also get a band lower in my English proficiency test, what will be the outcome of score? So here you can see that with change in IELTS score, the score has dropped from 457 to 445. By now, we knew that we had to get at least a score of this band in our IELTS exam. Otherwise, our chances of getting an invitation to apply is next to impossible in express entry pool. We got clarity that my wife being primary applicant increases our chance of getting the ITA as she is younger in age than me, her education was higher than me, and hoped that we both will get a good IELTS score to feel confident about getting into express entry. This entire exercise took us 1 week. However, I feel that it does not require more than 1 or 2 days. By end of this exercise, we spent no money as information and tools were free. We were clear that we needed to have English proficiency score as well as education credentials done to move forward. Well, with this, it brings an end to part 1 of video. I hope you found this information relevant. The next part of video is much more interesting as you would get to know how we went about doing this as a process and how we achieved an economical budget.